Dear students, good morning to all of you. And after a long time, we are again coming back with our classes. I could understand that you were all busy with doing your assignments, and then of course uh, working with members in a team online is definitely difficult. But I'm sure you're getting used to it because the future is all about virtual teams. You would not see your colleagues, but you have to still work with each other, understanding each other's limitations, and then helping each other, and that's how your projects can be done. And this lockdown is giving you a wonderful experience like that. With a lot of issues, you still have to work, you still have to do your work because time and tide waits for none. So with that preview, now we are going to start with fourth unit of our syllabus, and that's called analysis of data. And then let's have a quick review of our third assignment. Now, in the third assignment, you are expected to upload the questionnaires and then submit the link to me. Of course, you also have to send the link to all your responses or respondents who were sampled. So the condition is you have to collect the data at least from 60 respondents minimum, and more you could run into 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever the number, but minimum 60 is the condition. Because if you have a minimum of 60, you are eligible to conduct, or your data is qualified for various kinds of statistical tests. If it's less than 60, you are constrained to apply certain statistical tests, and particularly for your hypothesis testing, that would be the limitation. So, after the collection of the data, you are expected to submit all your Excel sheets to me, and that's how we will move on with our next class on data analysis using software. So, with this preview, let's once again recap. Research process consists of 7 steps. We had already finished with 5 steps: assessing relevant and existing knowledge, formulating concepts and propositions, statement of hypothesis, design of research, acquiring empirical data. So today we are going to start with the sixth step called, yeah, it's a sixth step, but as per the syllabus, it is the fourth unit. So it's called analyze and evaluate the data. So how are we going to do it? So let's have a review. The fourth unit is titled as statistical inference. Now in this unit we will see how to test hypothesis for single populations, how to test hypothesis for two populations, which includes analysis of variance, chi-square test, whereas in the single population we'll have means difference tests, mean, median, mode, all that we will see once again. And then means different tests like t-test, particularly we will see that, z-square or z-test also we will see that. And then the third topic is correlation and simple linear regression, multiple linear regression analysis, and of course the last one is called factor analysis. These are the topics in store for us. So this entire week we will be having a lot of videos on each of them. It's because these are all practical works. In step 6, we have to demonstrate all of this using computer software. Otherwise, I'm 100% sure that you had already learned about all these things in your previous trimesters, probably in first and the second trimester. So therefore, we will not go into the derivative part, or we are not going to see how to calculate all of these, but we are going to see how to analyze the data collected online using Google Forms, and how to transform or export that data into a software and then start using that software, and in which we will see all these topics demonstrated. So what I would do, I will make this time very short videos so that you could simply download and use. Because I keep receiving from some of the students the complaints that they are away from the city, they are far away from the villages, and therefore they don't have enough of internet facilities, which I don't think is a true fact. Because now today internet penetration is so much into the remote farthest parts, even in forest areas. I would know that because I keep traveling to remote villages. So I know internet facility is not at all a problem. But what I would think is probably you're not closer to uh, tower. So explore the places where you're closer to the tower and then start using internet. I know we have enough of bandwidth for WhatsApp, enough of bandwidth for YouTube, enough of bandwidth for Twitter and other social media. So that type of bandwidth is enough for even our classes. So without much complaining about it, let's explore what are the possibilities of having access to these lessons and learn them, because most probably by the end of this week we will be completing our syllabus. So if you're missing out, still don't bother about it. You can always download these classes and then keep on listening repeatedly and make some notes. So uh, with this kind of and uh, instructions, we would move on with how do we do analysis of data, or how do we analyze the data after collection of the data from internet, or manually or by personally visiting. What are we supposed to do? So step one is we have to clean up the data. This is a very important step, because you have been in a hurry to collect the data either online or from respondents. But after collecting all of this data, when you start manually going through or actually going through the data, you would realize that some people have not answered to certain questions. Some people forgot complete row or complete list of questions. So, or some people would have entered something wrong which you didn't cross check. So, this is the time. In step one, you are supposed to clean up the data to ensure that your data is perfect in all respects. What if some people have not at all entered the data? You have to delete that respondent from your um, sheet. So ensure that all respondents have answered in all respects completely. That's called data cleaning. And then once data cleaning is done, you are expected to prepare a code book, which is also called a guidebook. I'm going to explain you very quickly what is code book. Using MS Word or even Excel sheet, I can try. I think that's the best way. Through Excel sheet, I will demonstrate what is called a code book, and then followed by step 3 called master sheet. This is a very important sheet. It is also similar to your Excel sheet, but traditionally we called it master sheet. And then you could enter the data in the Excel sheet. If you're doing it online, automatically the data is stored in Excel sheet format. But if you had collected manually, you still have to enter them into an Excel sheet format, or even in the software which I'm going to demonstrate it. And then once you're through with guidebook as well as data entry sheet, you're supposed to move on to step 4 called analyzing the data. How do you do it? Either you can do it manually. I remember our times when we were students, we did it manually. But today, you have plenty of software available, so therefore you can use the softwares to conduct them manually. So in this course, I'm going to demonstrate softwares for analyzing the data, and particularly for hypothesis testing. So that's going to be the focus of our sessions from subsequently. Now, in the meantime, I wish to draw your attention to the hypothesis testing, which you are definitely familiar with, because in the previous classes, uh, some faculty members would have definitely explained you all these steps. There are 7 steps in hypothesis testing, because this is a very important topic, because the centrality of analysis of data is hypothesis testing. You're trying to demonstrate, you're trying to prove or disprove your assumptions. So therefore, let's quickly review what are these steps. Step number 1, you're supposed to set or formulate a null hypothesis or an alternative hypothesis. You know all about those uh, symbolic notations or expressions. For null hypothesis, mu equals to mu naught, and alternative hypothesis, mu not equals to mu naught. And then once you formulate a hypothesis, either null or alternative, your second step is determine the appropriate statistical test. So statistical test, at least in this case, depends upon the type of hypothesis and the way you have formulated it. For example, is your hypothesis assuming relationships. So you have to know what type of statistical test for testing relationships. If your hypothesis assuming variations, you must know what type of statistical test. Similarly, if your hypothesis is all about associations, what type of statistical test? So if your hypothesis is all about differences, what type of statistical test? So you must know how to determine the appropriate statistical test. We're going to do that in the next topic. And once you're through with step 2, you have to proceed with step 3 called set level of significance. So in level of, I will not elaborate more about it. Level of significance is all about the error you want to tolerate at. So at what level of significance you want to accept the computed value, statistical value. So we normally fix zero point 0.01 or zero point 0.05 or zero point 0.1. So 0.01, 1%, 5%, and 10%. That's how you relate it. So normally in social sciences, we go up till zero point 0.05, less than zero point 0.05. So zero point 0.01 to zero point 0.05 is acceptable in our social sciences. Of course, management subject also. Whereas zero point 0.1 onwards is normally used in medical sciences. So that's the beyond the understanding or beyond the confines of our discussions. We will not talk about zero point 0.1. So whereas in case of our research, we will normally accept less than zero point 0.05. So once you are setting the level of significance, move on with step 4 called set the decision rule. Now in decision rule, you have to identify the circumstances in which you either reject or accept the hypothesis. You will be commenting those errors called type 1 and type 2 errors. Doesn't matter. Move on to step 5 called collect sample data. So either you do it online or offline. In most of your cases, you have done it online. Some of you wanted to do it offline, but I advise you in this lockdown situation, it's not possible. So I discourage you from doing that. So always stick to online in this crisis moment. Step 6, analyze the data. So how do we do that? Either you do it in software or you do it manually, which I'm going to demonstrate that. Now, step 7, arrive at conclusions based on the statistical interpretations and suggest a business decision. So that's how our hypothesis testing would be conducted. Now, our next class is going to be on demonstration of a software for data analysis. So I hope you have got clarity on what are the steps involved in it. Now it's time for us to uh, go back to each of these steps. Particularly, I'm going to demonstrate from step 2 to step 3. So let's start with step 2. Now in step 2, what we would do, just go to, you can minimize this and then go to uh, MS Word. Now in MS Word, I'm going to prepare a code book. So I'll start like this, code book, and make it in the caps, then increase the font. So that's my code book title. Now what is a code book, by the way? Code book is also called a guidebook, or it is called set of instructions for dealing with the data. So how is your questionnaire prepared? What are the guidelines for understanding your questionnaire for data entry as well as analysis of the data? So here we'll have a format. As I prepare, you can understand that. So code book has to be prepared and it has to be submitted to your mentors when you're doing your project report or your faculty supervisors. So in your next assignment, you are supposed to prepare a code book and Excel, what is it called, master sheet. These are the two sheets that you are supposed to prepare and submit. So I'm going to prepare now how a code book looks like. So I'll start with serial number and then variable number, and then what is the information I'm seeking, then response pattern, then codes assigned to them, level, measurement level, or simply say measurement, then remarks, any remarks. So what I'll do, I'll reduce the font, and that's how it looks like. Now I'll convert that into columns. So I'll reduce the width of serial number, similarly width of variable number, and width of codes, width of measure, and of course I'll increase the width of response pattern and information sort. Now here what we will do, let's start with uh, get back to your questionnaires. Now where did I keep my questionnaire? My questionnaire is somewhere in, yeah, here it is. I'm opening my questionnaire here, draft questionnaire. Okay, this is my draft questionnaire you're all familiar with. And then part A consists of 12 questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm copy pasting uh, all of these 12 questions here, and then I will remove the table format. After removing the tabular format, so what I'll do, I'll enter like this. Yeah, that's correct. So that's how my variables look like. Now I'll remove the bullet points. I'm just showing you all the shortcuts in order to avoid the time for this recording. Now, that's how I'll prepare for the sake of saving time, and then I'll create another column on the left, and it will dovetail with my serial number just to save the time. And then I'll create another column to the right of this empty column, and that's for variable number. So then I'll just keep dragging it. That's it. So I'm through with it. So I can still adjust it. Then I will create some more columns to the right. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. So what I'll do, just copy paste like this. Yeah, that's how I format. And now my variables are serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then since I'm not going to use some questions, for example, name is not needed. So I will not use name, I'll just leave it like that. But I'll start with occupation. So it will be now V1. It will be V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7, V8, V9, V10 and V11. Now, what is the response pattern for occupation? I have not given response pattern for any of this. So after the collection of the data, I'll make response patterns here. Now, name, actual name, no code, measure, nominal, sorry, nominal, no remarks, dash. And then I'll increase the layout. Occupation consists of employed and self-employed. Only two occupations I have taken. I'll still decrease the font size to accommodate. Now, employed and self-employed. So what are the codes for employed? Employed is 1, self-employed is 2, and the measure is nominal. I'll simply say N. And then age. This is actuals because the codes are in actuals. Here also I'll say actuals and then interval. No remarks. Now, if there is any actual variables like I'll copy paste for income, years of experience, number of subordinates, number of children, number of promotions. Whereas designations, employee, supervisor, then officer. Only 3 designations. So 1, 2, 3. Nominal. No remarks. I don't have remarks for any of them. What actually the purpose of remarks is, here you could give instructions to data entry operator in case if you're outsourcing this data, since you might not find time or you don't know, you don't have facilities. So therefore, when you outsource this entire work to somebody to enter the data in an Excel sheet, you are giving instructions to that gentleman in these remarks. What is that they should do in case if somebody has not given answer to this question? You mention that what instruction he should follow. So that's how I prepare my code book. So I'll move on to the next one called part B. Now what is my part B? Part B is called conflict. So I have question number 13 to 20, 21. Similarly, totally 36 questions are there for. So what I would do, 13 to 20. So I'll go back. I'll prepare simply serial number 13 to 20, and the variables are V12 to V19. Then I would say work conflict items. What is the response pattern? To save time, I'm picking up this. So what I'll do, I'll create another empty sheet here. I'll copy them, then just enter like this. They're all shortcut methods. So separation, I'm copy pasting this. First I'll take the short one, much easier to copy. So okay, similarly I'll copy this and paste it here. That's it. Now question number, serial number 21 to meaning. family conflict, serial number 21 to 28. 28. Then variable number V20 to V27. Now these are called family conflict items. So same response pattern. I'll copy here. Then let me complete this. Actually, we didn't do it. This is ordinal measurement. No, serial number 29 to 36. 36. Variable number 28 to variable number 35. Inter-role conflict items. Same response pattern, same level of measurement, and that's it. I'm through with my conflict part. Now I would move on to satisfaction part C. So in part C, I have work satisfaction items, family satisfaction items, and life satisfaction items. So let me start with work satisfaction. The serial number 37 to 42. So here 37 to 42. Variable numbers V36 to V41. Work satisfaction. Work satisfaction items have similar response pattern as in case of conflict, so I'll copy paste it. Whereas for the remaining ones, let me save my codebook. So I'll say SFC codebook. Copy that into data analysis folder to save it there. And now go on to family satisfaction 43 to 47. But the response pattern is different here, you can see. So 43 to 47. 43 to 47. V42 to V46. Family satisfaction. It's also ordinal. So here additional measurements, additional response pattern is that's it. And with that I've come to the last part of my code book. For measuring life satisfaction, I have 4 items 48 to 51. So serial number 48 to 51 and the variable numbers 47 to variable 50. So this 50 item instrument complete questionnaire consists of 50 items or 50 questions. So life satisfaction scale, copy that even for the other ones. That's it. So I'm through with my code book. Now my code book is ready. Now this code book would help me to prepare my next sheet, next step. Next step is called preparation of an Excel data entry sheet or master sheet. It's called master sheet. So in order to demonstrate how to prepare a master sheet, which is manually done, whereas in your case it is automatically done on Google Forms, but however you need to cross check for any errors. Now a master sheet it looks like an Excel sheet, which is also called a spreadsheet. That's the traditional standard nomenclature. So in a spreadsheet, you can even call it master sheet. So I'll put a heading here called master sheet. Master sheet. This is a very important. So in the master sheet, remember the universal standards. Rows are meant for respondents. Columns are meant for questions. It's a very, very important instruction. Rows are meant for respondents. Columns are meant for questions. So now in the first column, the I'm going to create the list of variables that are mentioned in the codebook. So codebook would help me to prepare my master sheet. So in the master sheet, I'll start with variable number 1. So get back to master sheet. Before variable number 1, I also need a serial number. So I'll start first with serial number, then V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. It goes on like that. V7, V8, V9, V10. So you have to enter them at least 50. So all the 50 variables have to be entered. I'm just going to show you until 10 items only, 10 questions only. So this is the way your master sheet is prepared first of all. And then get back to your code book again. Now, whatever the response pattern for each question is mentioned in the column titled response pattern, and their corresponding codes also given in the fifth column, that's called codes. So you are supposed to enter these numbers or these codes for the answers given by the respondents. Instead of entering these, you have to enter these. Remember that. So I'm sure most of the students would have an Excel sheet, because the Google form will give you these responses. Google form will give you these responses, but you need these responses. That's why you have to prepare a code book, and that's why you have to redo your master sheet. So in Google, for example, your Google form, let's say for example occupation, first respondent would have answered employed, second respondent would have answered self-employed. This is how a Google form data would look like after downloading, but we don't need this serial number, first respondent, second respondent. No, your data would look like this. You don't need this data. So what you need is, you need to convert them into codes, and exactly your code book comes to your rescue. That's the purpose of a code book. So without code book, your Excel sheet or your master sheet is useless, I would say, because master sheet is a raw data. It contains the raw data collected from the field, which does not have any directions. So code book actually comes to your rescue. Codebook serves as a direction to treat your master sheet or to understand your master sheet. Now, in your master sheet, all the answers to the questions, all these questions, these answers are codified and entered in the Excel sheet. So, once you download your Excel sheet from Google Forms, you have to recode or uh, convert your qualitative answers, which are in the form of response pattern like mentioned in the code book, and give the corresponding codes. That's it. So if you are through with it, I'm sure your master sheet is ready. I have already done it after downloading from the Google Forms. So I would just show you. With that, we would conclude our class for today. So I'll open up my folder here. See, this is the form which I had downloaded from the Google. You know that it looks like this. So timestamp, names. In my case, respondents have not given answers, but they have given the uh, gender. See, in case of gender, they mentioned one is male, two is female. So but what I have done, I have converted those qualitative ones into codes according to the code book. Now my entire sheet has data like this. You can see strongly agree, strongly disagree. All those response patterns are converted into codes. So how many respondents have answered to my Google form? 211. I think this gentleman has not completely given the data, so I'm going to delete it. So it's 210. So I think 210 is a very big sample, because as I told you, if your sample size is more than 60, it is a good sample. So 60 is a minimum. Maximum you could have any numbers, so you could have 100, 200, 300. So but in my case, I've got 210 respondents, so I think that's a fair response. So I think that's how I would conclude today's class. And then in the next class, most probably after lunch, I would do that. I'm going to start with the software. Today itself, I'm going to start with the software. So get ready with the software. I have already sent you the links to download that software. So download links are already mentioned in the previous mail. So please check through, download the software. I'm going to show you how to install the software and how to maneuver through the menus of the software. That's going to be my next class. Until then, I wish you all the best. Prepare your code books, check through your master sheets. In case data collection is not done, ensure that you are finished up with the data collection. Even if you are through with it by tomorrow, when I'm demonstrating the software, in real time, you can also open up your own sheets in that software and learn the process. So until then, I wish you all the best.